A 61-year-old mother of four and beloved community member and a 30-year-old father, who is also a Guatemalan national, are named as the two who died in a Stephenson County crash over the weekend. Investigators believe the man was drunk. According to Sheriff Steve Stovall, Darcy Connolly Bruner and Rolando Iquichoke were the only ones in the vehicles at the time. Stovall said Iquichoke was driving a Nissan Altima around 12:30 Saturday afternoon on Illinois Route 26 near Onico Road in rural Stephenson County. Investigators believe Iquichoke crossed the center line and crashed into Bruner, who was driving a Ford Edge. Both drivers died at the scene, and Stovall said Iquichoke had a criminal history, including a charge of aggravated DUI in 2023. State line leaders gathered in Freeport Tuesday to talk about that fatal crash on Route 26. WYFR reporter Bria Walters attended their news conference.
And we will honor her memory by ensuring the facts of this crash are fully investigated.
To families in Freeport, Darcy Connolly Bruner was a respected social worker and beloved by many community members. That includes Stephenson County Sheriff Steve Stovall.
As far as the professionals in our office that handled the call, they did not have the relationship that I did with the family, so they were able to handle this case as any other.
Preliminary findings show 30-year-old Rolando Iquichoke, a Guatemalan national, is likely at fault for the crash that angered local politicians.
The person was a felony DUI offender who I have personally verified with the Department of Homeland Security was in this country illegally.
A WIFR investigation finds he is out because of the Safety Act.
This would not have happened in Indiana or Iowa. In those states, repeat criminal offenders who are in this country illegally aren't released.
House Republican leader Tony McCombie says her heart goes out to the families, but her mind is on other things.
Tragedies like this happen, we look for answers. We look for ways to make sense of something that feels senseless. And we have to be honest, some of those answers point to failed policies.
And all three Republican leaders called for policy change for the Safety Act and sanctuary policy, but one took it a step further.
I hold J.B. Pritzker personally responsible. I hold the Democrats personally responsible. This should not have happened.
Meanwhile, the community remembers Darcy Bruner, who one friend called one of the funniest people around. In Freeport, Bria Walters, WIFR News.
WYFR reached out to Pritzker's office, and we're still waiting on a response. Autopsies will take place Tuesday. Officials say there is probable cause that Iquichoke was under the influence at the time of the crash. This information may not be released for weeks as the crash is still under investigation.